Welcome everyone to another Intentional Success webinar. Today we're going to talk about why everything is harder now, but more importantly, what you can do about it. How do you start fixing it? It's been a challenging couple of months, and most of the folks I've talked to, well, they don't have time to talk right now because they're so busy with all the work that's going on. So this is it's great that we're coming out of the pandemic doldrums and we're busy again, but gosh, it's so challenging because our supply chain is constrained and customers are calling at the last minute, and we want them to talk about the fall shows, but they're too busy with the May shows and the June shows that they don't want to talk about the September and October shows. And all of this is spinning around all the time, just making it more and more difficult for us to really get comfortable in all of this. So I'm Thomas Stimson. If you don't know me, if you're new to this webinar, I am president of the Stimson Group. I work with owners. I coach, I help with strategy. I work all aspects of the businesses in the live events industry. I work with production companies, and I work with manufacturers, and I work with staffing companies. It's a pretty diverse group of people in our vertical, in our niche, and I work with all of them, and I'm very, very proud of it, and I'm proud of everything that you guys have done the past 2 years. But here we are. We're a little harried. We're a little bit fried. Let's get going on learning how to deal with that. If you're new to this, this is being recorded. Yes, I did hit record. Thank you for reminding me. The replay will be up at the end of the day. You'll get an email to remind you of it. Veterans will know that it's always the same link, so you can go check that whenever you want to. We post questions in the Q&A box. It's easy for me to keep track of, but there's a chat going on, so feel free to chat about stuff in there. And if there's something comes up, sometimes I'll see it, sometimes I won't. And by all means, let us know where you're watching from, because that's kind of the fun to realize that we are a global industry. And there are no differences to the challenges my friends Anthony is having in South America to my friends in Scotland, to Australia, and all the other places that we get followers and viewers in from. So reach out. It's amazing how much we all have in common. Now, me, what can I do for you? Yes, I do webinars. I give away a lot of free content. I want to help my industry get better. But I am a consultant. I do work for a living, and it all starts with an honest conversation. So when you're ready to have an honest conversation about your issues and solve the challenges in your business, get to the growth and profitability that you want, reach your personal goals and all those things, let's talk about that. I'm going to help you understand, or help understand from you, what's keeping you from moving forward. What are the obstacles that you're trying to overcome? And then I'm an accelerator. I'm going to help you get to your goal. You might get there eventually. I want you to get there a lot faster, and then hopefully it'll be a lot better in that process. So reach out to me. Just head out to the website, hit the Let's Talk. You'll get access to my calendar, and I can't wait to visit with you. So back to our topic here. Why is everything harder now? And let me fight the. Hang on, I am fighting PowerPoint, and I'll get the PowerPoint back up again. So the question is, why is everything so much harder now? What's going on with us that's causing all of this? And excuse me for the technical failure here. Get the share back up. And hopefully you see that. There we go. So how do we start fixing all this? What's this webinar about? Why am I doing this? The main reason I'm talking about this today is that busy has become very different. The busy that you're dealing with right now is so different from the busy before the pandemic. There's just really no comparison. We've been busy before, but we knew when busy was going to end, and right now we don't. Our lead times are shorter, so we don't know if we have work next month. But by the time we get to next month, we're going to be busy continually, and it's really hard to get your hands around this. When do we get a breather? Do we need to hire more people? Do we not need to hire more people? So little short lead times, not a lot of breaks. This return to in-person events is obviously straining resources all over the place. We have pinch points in people and supplies, systems, trying to get product, trying to add rental inventory. All of this is very difficult right now, and it just seems like we're not going to win. So I want to break it down for you and say, look, what you're just seeing here are constraints. And the theory of constraints, and I'm a huge constraint theory fan, is it's a methodology for identifying the most important limiting factor. In other words, the constraint, okay, that stands in the way of achieving the goal, and then systematically improving that constraint. And so it's no longer a limiting factor, but something else will be. So it's an iterative process, and it keeps going on and on and on. So these constraints or these bottlenecks are the things that cause the stress and the panic that we experience when we get busy. It's just like when you're loading in a show. You load in a show, you open the back of the doors of the truck and the loading dock, you go into the hotel, you walk into the ballroom, the first thing you see is the hotel has set up the stage against the doorway. They've already put the tables and chairs in, and you've got 2,000 feet of truss that you've got to rig. You just hit a constraint. Okay, how do you solve for that constraint? Well, planning and communication would have prevented that constraint, but where did the planning and communication fail? So going back and figuring out, how did you get to this point? What can you do about it? Now, it's almost second nature for us to do it in shows, but it doesn't seem to be second nature to do it in our businesses. And if we don't understand how to solve for constraints in business, then noise starts to dictate what the priorities are. So we work on noise instead of working on the root cause. So symptoms will get the attention, the root causes get ignored. Permanent change and progress won't happen. We'll slap a Band-Aid on this and we'll move forward. We tend to relitigate the same issues over and over again, right? When this happens, then we hit a stagnation in the business. It becomes difficult to grow. Employees get frustrated. Busy starts to define your existence instead of being a reward, and not busy becomes unproductive time that you don't know what to do with. So you sell into not busy and you perpetuate the problem. So noise has a lot of negative effects, and constraint theory helps us eliminate what that noise is. Now, I'll give you a good example. Warehouse operations theory. You guys all understand this, right? The top priority in your warehouse operation in a rental production company is check-in. That is the beginning of the operations process. Why? Theory of constraints. Because you cannot prep the show, which is more important to you than check-in, until you've checked in. And the show prep process becomes longer, more problematic, and more noisy if you skip the step of checking in the show that's at the dock right now. So the reason symptoms are once again getting attention is that these are new symptoms. What you're seeing right now in this new busy are symptoms you're not familiar with, but the process for unraveling them is the same. Unfamiliar things are happening. This leads to planning stress, and it leads to decision fatigue, which is where many of us are at right now. So let's start solving it. Number one, we need better management meetings. If you have a management meeting that doesn't have these 5 things in it, stop having that management meeting right now. It is not helping you. It might be a group therapy session at best, but I bet most of your management meetings are devolving into production meetings and planning meetings, and they're not actually doing anything to improve the operation of the company. They're just helping you keep up with tactics and communications, which you should have already solved for. So a productive management meeting has metrics, and not just any metrics, actionable metrics, metrics that when they change, it causes you to change your behavior and your priority. Some departmental updates is helpful. I don't have to keep track of what's going on in the sales department if I'm in the operations department, but that update will help inform me about what to expect. You should have task forces working, and task forces finish projects. So we have closeout projects. That goes into the management meeting. You have open issues that need attention, which we need to be reminded of because a task force might need to take that on. So we also are assigning new task forces to deal with open issues. Management has more to do than to deliver the product to your customers. And if your management team is completely involved in delivery, they are not managing your business, which is why you have noise, which is why you have constraints. It's a vicious circle, and we've got to solve it, and we've got to take responsibility for it as management in order to do that. So I'm going to talk about an active management process where we are managing the business and not letting the business manage us. It starts with something as simple as a quarterly strategy meeting. In a quarterly strategy meeting, I want to be reminded about what the stakeholder goals are for the business. I want to look at the disciplines that it takes to deliver the results of that goal. And then I want to look at the progress reports on the things that we've done to improve our discipline in those 5 areas. And I'm going to talk about those 5 areas in some detail. That sets the stage for what we need to be fresh on the next quarter. And then we're going to do it again in another quarter because it has to stay current. It has to be updated. Every week, I want updates on KPIs, key performance indicators. I want action items. A key performance indicator is never something you have to wait for the end of the month to find. If you have to wait to close out the month to get a key performance indicator, you have the wrong metric. We need to find better metrics to let us know how things are going and whether it needs to trigger an intervention. And if your closeout on a month is 3, 4, or 8 weeks after the month is over, that is far too late to fix the problem that happened in week 1 of the month. So weekly KPI updates would be great for management meetings. Then there are task forces, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit of detail in this webinar too. And those need to check in every day. Trust me, it's 5 minutes. First time you do it, it'll take 10. You'll get better at it. It'll be 5. Pretty soon you'll be doing it in 1 or 2. Task forces have a deliverable, they have a deadline, and they have an owner, a person responsible for delivering the outcome. And they have the team that helps work on it. And I'll talk about that structure as well. Again, our goal here is to eliminate noise with very small, well-structured steps on the right things. And then when the task force is done, which could be in as little as a week, okay, we implement that change, we set a deadline for a follow-up, and we move on to the next task, which will probably come up in the weekly management meeting or have already been defined. When this project is done, here's what the next project is. So let's back up. That's a lot to absorb. I'm going to be a fire hose today. That quarterly strategy meeting, what does that look like? It's a strategic refocus. For some of you, once a quarter is probably enough. I have some clients that need to do this almost every month. I have other clients that might do this once a year. It should be no less than twice a year. Once a quarter is safe. Restate stakeholder goals, shareholder, the owner. What does the owner want to accomplish? And don't be shocked if it's as simple as, I need more cash flow. That is a stakeholder goal. We'll talk about the things that are important to stakeholders right after this. We're going to look at the 5 disciplines that we use in business to deliver consistent results. And we're going to do a check-in on those 5 disciplines. I'm going to walk you through that process in just a second. We're going to pinpoint the most important discipline and the most needed discipline because they are often not the same thing. Sometimes we need to work on most needed in order to deliver most important. And then we're going to fast track one thing towards most needed. And we're going to leave that strategic refocus starting off that quarter with our first fast track project and maybe the second or third or fourth one already teed up. And then we repeat that process next quarter. So stakeholder goals. Get my chat back open here. Yay. Stakeholder goals. You guys have seen this before. This is one of my most popular blog posts. What do owners want? Go to my website, hit the search bar, you'll find it. What do owners want? They want cash flow, they want profit, they want growth, they want satisfaction, and they want harmony. The order that they want them in will vary by owner and where they are at their stage in life. right? It may vary from day to day, but the fact is they're looking for some balance in all of these because it's very hard to enjoy growth and profitability with a bunch of really unhappy people. As my old boss used to say, we're in business for fun and profit. If we're not making a profit, it's not going to be any fun, right? So growth, satisfaction, harmony, cash flow, profit, all of these things work together, right? Let's restate what the goal is right now. Where does the owner or the stakeholder feel that they need more energy? They need to see more action. They need to see better results. And that can become our theme for that quarter. How do we increase profitability is a very common thing. But right now, most of you want some harmony, or you just want to feel better at the end of the day instead of exhausted at the end of the day. Let's figure out what that thing is. So take that, set it aside. Let's put that growth thing aside. That's what we want to do. We want to get some growth going, improve our profitability. What are the disciplines that it takes to do it? So when the stakeholder goals are not being met or they're not working, which sometimes triggers an intervention, particularly which might lead us to start this process that we're talking about today, there are 5 disciplines that I review to help the company, help the team understand the quickest path to lasting relief, right? In terms of stakeholder goals, I want to be more profitable. I want more harmony. How is the business performing on these 5 disciplines? Okay, and this is a very short exercise, and my coaching clients will recognize this because I've been doing this with them for the past couple of months to help better flesh this out for everyone. Here's the order that I look at your business. When I'm assessing your company as a prospect or a new client, first thing I'm looking for is, do you have a positive brand image? Okay. How do you feel about your brand image? Is your brand image delivering for you? We'll talk about each of these individually. Is your sales funnel reliable? Or are you a victim of your sales funnel? Okay. Who's in charge of the sales funnel, right? A reliable sales funnel. Are your processes scalable? In other words, does being busy create panic and cause processes to get thrown out the window? Or do your processes just get amped up and keep up with what you're trying to do? Do you have a consistent strategy? Why is that one not first? Okay, because I can't see if your strategy is consistent unless I see how it's manifesting through your brand image, your sales funnel, and your processes. And then finally, predictable profit. This is the last thing I look at, okay? 1, because it is the easiest to uncover, but 2, it's much easier to understand the state of your profitability if I understand how your brand, your sales, and your processes and your business strategy are all working together. Because if all of those are kicking it and I get to your profit and it's unexplainably poor, I know where I need to spend some energy. I'm going to spend some time in that P&L and help figure out what it is that you're doing to yourself. So we review these 5 disciplines. Look at them a little bit more closely. A positive brand image. How do I determine whether my brand image is positive? It's very simple, and this may be difficult for you to do for yourself because you are close to it, but a lot of you have not looked at your website. Usually you tell me because you hate it. But go look at your website. What does your website logo, social media footprint, and value proposition say about you as a business? Is it intentional? Is it well considered? Did you hire a good copywriter to get it done? Is your intended target for your services apparent in your brand image? Okay. Is the brand accessible or relevant to the people that you want to be relevant to? Or is it somehow disconnected? And I'll give you the perfect example. Your target audience is meeting planners and your website is all techno babble. That is not accessible to the average meeting planner. Okay, so we have a disconnect here. So your brand image may be skewed positive, but it's not doing the job of bringing your prospect, your ideal customer, into the fold and helping them to engage with you more deeply, which is what brand is supposed to do. So that's a quick assessment of your brand image. Let's move on to, is your sales funnel reliable? Okay. A couple of easy questions here. Do you know where your next job is coming from? Do you know how much business can you give me a forecasted sales figure for next August, next September? How about next November? Or are you panicked or confused or uncertain about it? Can you quantify the future income? Can you say more than, well, we're usually busy in September, to say, we expect to do between $500,000 and $800,000 in September. It doesn't mean I know where all that business is coming from, but that's the number that we are budgeting, and we are moving forward with the expectation that we're going to hit that target, because that affects a lot of aspects of your business. Okay, that's what a reliable sales funnel does for you. It tells you how to plan for the future. It tells you where your yeses and your nos are going to come from. And then I'm going to ask you, are you aware of the market trends and how they're affecting the sales funnel? Oh, we're super busy right now. Can you tell me why you're super busy right now? What are the factors in your market or your vertical that have led to you being super busy right now? Do you actually understand what's going on around you? Do you understand what's going to be happening in September, October, November, or next January? Okay. So how in tune are you with the elements that affect all of this? And then we're going to look at processes. And as you can see, this can be a fairly quick assessment. I typically do this in 20 minutes with my clients. And then we spend time working on what I'm going to work on with you next. Are your processes scalable? Well, I'll ask you a couple of questions. Are there named processes with identifiable process owners? Do you have a proposal review process? And can you tell me the person who's in charge of it? If the show prep process needs to change, who is the process owner that will determine what those changes will be and when and how they're going to be implemented? Do you have answers to those questions, or does it just kind of happen organically? And do the processes work when your company is busy and slow? Or do you have processes that worked really well when you were slow, but you haven't figured out the process for working really well when you're busy? Okay, so these are some good questions to ask to help us understand what's going on and how scalable your processes actually are. Are you the fly or are you the windshield, right? And then we look at strategy. So consistent strategy. Does your team, if I talk to anybody in your team, do they use the same language and prioritize the same strategic results? Can everybody tell me what business you're in? Can everybody tell me what type of customer you're looking for? Can everybody tell me what products and services you actually provide? Does your team actually know how you make money? Okay, if these things don't manifest, I doubt your strategy is going to be executed very consistently. And is there healthy strategic conflict, or is there contention? Most people are conflict averse, so if they're contentious about your strategy, they tend not to do anything. If you're the owner of the business and you feel like you should be working hard, getting us going this direction, and your management team's kind of dragging their feet about it or making other things higher priority, that's a form of contention. That says they don't agree with you. You haven't sold them on it. There's no buy-in. Why does that exist? So these are the kinds of things we're going to uncover when we're looking at strategy. And then the last thing I said is profit. Does the owner and management know their numbers? Can they explain outliers in their results? Do we know why this month went great or went poorly? Okay. Is there any kind of fiscal budgeting, and is it used as a tool or is it used as an obstacle? I hear a sales target numbers all the time as a form of fiscal budgeting, which it is not. But sales targets tend to create obstacles to doing good business, because the goal is to increase sales, not to increase profitability, not to execute the strategy for the right customer. So what's your relationship with profit? Okay, are you driving the profit, or is the profit driving you? Or is it just a result that you're surprised about on the 25th of every month when you finally close out the previous month's books? So has the business done everything it should to make profit predictable? Now, our post-pandemic business models deliver very different results than we had before. Do you know how to interpret them and how to optimize them, how to improve the things that are good or valuable for you? That's what we need to understand. So we've done this quick assessment. We've looked at these 5 disciplines, and maybe we've determined that your sales funnel is a hot mess. We never know what's going on. We can't get any data out of the sales team. We know there's jobs in September and they haven't put them in the system, and operations is freaking out because they don't know how much they need. So they're saying no to everything because they're afraid they might be too busy, but they don't know because sales isn't telling them. Sounds like a sales funnel problem, isn't it? It sounds like a hot mess. Seeing quite a bit of it lately. So that's going to be my example. So you may not be where you need to be in order to begin solving this problem. Because as we look at the sales funnel issue, maybe there's an underlying issue that's not allowing the sales funnel problem to be fixed. And we have to unpack that. So we're going to go through a little prioritization exercise. And I'll walk you through an example of this so you can understand what it is. So you have an area that offers the most to gain. If our sales funnel is fixed, it will give us these benefits. And we agree that that's really important. What's the first step you can take to start that journey that's guaranteed to lead you in the right direction? In other words, what area needs the most improvement? What is the most important thing that you need to do? All right, we go back to our assessment, right? We look at our 5 discipline. Brand is okay. Sales funnel is really reactive. We have no forecastable data. We're kind of wound up about that. The ops needs more time. The lead times are too short. They can't keep with this. They don't know how to schedule labor. They don't have a deep enough bench. There's disagreement on the target customer. People are grumbling about this job that was added for people that nobody wants to do work with. Okay. And then your profit dips in a busy month. You had a great month and your profit tanked. Where do we start? Okay. What is the most important thing here? Well, which discipline complicates the most important thing, which is the lack of a reliable sales funnel? So our key issue is this sales funnel. And if we can improve that, we get a lot of other benefits of it. So we drill down into that thing to unpack what complicates getting to that solution. So lack of a sales funnel, we don't have a consistent sales target. We don't have a process for reviewing quoting. So quotes are going out without another set of eyes, maybe to the wrong customer, maybe at the wrong pricing, maybe using resources that we don't have. Hint, hint, ops telling, hey guys, we don't have capacity for this. Why did you send that proposal out? Maybe your pricing hasn't been updated. Things cost more right now. Why did you quote the labor at that number? We can't hire anybody for that number. Maybe the CRM is not being used so that we can't see what's going to be quoted. Maybe operations has learned that they just push back on everything because they hope they're going to get some breathing room, and only the most persistent jobs are going to get pushed through. Yeah, we got some problems here. So drilling down, seeing what these sub issues are, the thing that jumps off the page is the lack of any kind of review process. Why is this important? It should be self-evident. If we had a proposal review process, we can catch a lot of these issues before it gets sent to the customer. We might catch pricing, we might catch filtering. So let's look at what we can do to solve this. Now, the first step is figure out what can I make a proposal review process implementation smaller. What can I do to shrink this into smaller and smaller tasks so I can get things done quickly? So a review process proposal is going to have some added benefits, right? We also have to think about that. You're going to get pricing data, you're going to get target filtering, you're going to get accountability. Operations is going to feel like somebody has their foot on the throat of sales, keeping them from selling us into poverty or creating unnecessary crises. The battle between sales and operations is back. It is real. This is going to help solve this. Now, how do I get a proposal review process implemented quickly? Think about your business right now. What's it going to take to do it? How long? What's the next step? And many of you are looking at this in terms of months. By September, we will have this process in place and documented and roll it out to the team. Shoot me. Okay. This is 1 week. You get 1 week to solve this problem. Here's how you do it. You've identified the root cause. We don't have a sales proposal, a proposal review process. Proposals are getting sent out without strategic verification, pricing verification, availability verification. How do we fix this? We're going to fast track it. Okay. Fixing the quoting review process will not solve the sales funnel issues or all of them. It's a good start, and it's a very important start. But we have to eliminate overthinking in order to get it done, right? So the fast track method is we want to define the outcome. In other words, we want to create an achievable task that we're going to work on and deliver in 1 week. We're going to put together a very small team. Generally 2 to 3 people is all you can put into a fast track task force, each with a unique access to data and elements that are going to bring the project forward. It needs to be a well-balanced team, and all 3 of them have to work. A very short deadline. Most fast tracks are done in 1 or 2 weeks at maximum. Okay. There's a daily progress check-in, 5 minutes. You can get it down to 2, get immediate feedback, no waiting. Everybody gets their marching orders. We meet again tomorrow. Here's the update. It doesn't mean that these individuals are going to be spending their entire day working on this for 2 weeks because they have other jobs to do, right? These are small chunks. These are simple things that get things done. And then you review it. You bring it back to the weekly management meeting. Here's our process. Here's what we're proposing. May they send it back a little bit and say, hey, put another week into this and let's clean up some loose ends, or do you just implement it so that you can get on to the next fast track item? And I have clients that use the fast track method year round, nonstop. This is what management does. Okay? They keep projects moving. They keep incremental steps going on. It's very important, and I'll walk you through a fast track example in just a moment. It is very important to remind you right now, the reason you can get this done in a week is because it is not going to be perfect. It is going to be good. Don't let perfect get in the way of good. And trust me, if you gave yourself until September to get this process in place, it still won't be perfect. I'd rather you get it good and start using it now, and then you can continually improve it, because every process has an owner, and the owner's job is to fix the process. So once the process is in place, it doesn't mean that we stop fixing it. We stop making it better. But the sooner we're using it, the sooner we're going to have data that allows us to improve it. And the next fast track project may be something that's going to help improve it by fixing another problem. We're going to talk about that too. So here's an example. We want our outcome for this project is a reliable proposal review. I'm put the ops manager who's in charge of the rental software and can update the pricing, and they're familiar with the sub rentals. I want a salesperson, and I want a project manager on the team, because project managers are involved in proposal development at this organization. So there's my team. Their deadline is 1 week, and they're going to deliver a report to the owner on their recommendations of what the process should be. Okay, so their task is to fix the quoting review process, deliver a working model that is good. Their goal is to establish reliable oversight in proposal pricing and strategy. In other words, keep us on track. Now, there are added benefits to all of this, and I know you're thinking about them. This is going to give you insights into pricing trends. This is going to help you in your planning for operations, scheduling crews. It's going to give you job cost data that's going to help you, figure out what you need to buy, what you need to negotiate better. And it's going to tell you what your next fast tracks need to be. And in this particular case, the proposal review process at this organization is going to help their CRM actually get used, because the CRM is going to be woven into the review process. So it becomes a necessity. It becomes a requirement. We're going to get that compliance along the way, because that's data that everyone needs. Exciting, isn't it? I told you this is fast. Right. Once we start, that team's going to go meet. They're going to outline some things. They're going to define success and benefits. They're going to make sure they're aware of the roadblocks and obstacles that they're going to help each other with. And then they're going to assign things to say, okay, we need to define what the process is now. We need to figure out who is the reviewer or who the reviewer should be, and what happens if something doesn't pass review, what happens next. And we start working on those things, and they go off independently and spend a little bit of time jotting a few things down, looking a few things up, diving into some things, and keeping track of all the other projects they keep thinking of that are going to make this better. Oh, well, the proposal review process would be easier if we had a standardized proposal so that every review would be faster and easier because we're not figuring out a new format. Ooh, that's a rabbit hole. Okay, so that's a future benefit that we can talk about later. And part of working fast is the team going, that's a great idea, put it in the parking lot. Okay, what we need right now is steps that will deliver a proposal when promised. What's that look like? So this becomes a method of what we call recursive problem solving. So the first suggestion, first meeting is, look, we just need to take the proposals to the owner. He's the one who needs to approve everything. They know everything that's going on. It's their vision, it's their business, yada, yada, yada. And then, but we know the owner's not going to do this. They're a nice person, but if the salesperson has already created the proposal, the owner's not going to say, don't send it. They're going to say, well, let's do it better next time. And it's just going to go and the problem is going to continue. That conversation led this team, and by the way, yes, I am using a real example, led the team to realize that the proposal review process starts before the proposal is written. Wow, boom, epiphany, brain explodes. The proposal review process begins before the proposal is started. So now we've gone through a couple of iterations. We've done a little research. We have a draft process. Confirm a budget range with the buyer. Was a vetting process followed? Did the salesperson follow the processes that gives them the information that allows them to start a proposal? It may be a short checklist. We need to know the event dates. We need to know who the economic buyer is, and we need a budget range that the client has heard from you or that they have delivered to you. Maybe 3 simple criteria. 2, check with operations for general availability for a job that kind of looks like this. That can be a water cooler flyby. It could be checking into a CRM or checking a rental management system. There's a lot of different ways you can get that done. Checking with a project manager or some other technology expert to make sure that there's no technical guidelines that are going to lead you astray in all of this. If there's no challenges that deserve a deeper understanding before we write a proposal. And well, by the way, that is not to do a 5-layer CAD drawing to figure out how many cables and how many truss bolts we need to put the proposal together. That is not what I'm talking about. That is an obstacle to creating proposals, not a gateway to doing them. And has the opportunity been presented to the reviewer to discuss the strategy for the proposal? All of this can be done in as little as 5 minutes while the salesperson runs through the building and checks in with everyone. Okay, it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out, complicated process. Then they put together the proposal, probably a lot of sub-steps there that have to be defined to present to the reviewer, in this case, the owner and sales manager. This team is off to a great start. Okay, and a little bit of iteration will make this even better. And they're going to learn a lot of things from it, like what are the other issues that we have that we also need to fast track. So in the process of talking to the team and talking to ops and talking to sales, and where does pricing come from and who is doing the sub rentals and how do we know that these cost more or that this costs less, we're going to uncover some stuff. We have a shortage of project managers, and project managers are integral to the proposal process because they're the ones that actually put the budget together, and they're all out doing shows, which means the salespeople don't have anybody to call on to get the proposal done. That's probably something we need to take a look at, but we can't fix it on this fast track. That's a future fast track. The pricing needs to be updated. How many of you need to update your pricing? You're all raising your hand right now. Even if you did it last week, you still need to update your pricing. So you have a lot of other things that you might need to look at. Commission structure, the shortage of freelancers that makes everybody freak out that we don't know how we're going to crew the show. Operations always wants more lead time. Guys, you got to learn to live with less lead time. Spoiler alert. But all of these things are going to be future fast tracks. Okay. The sales funnel is still the most important issue, but by solving the sales problem, we are setting ourselves up for compound benefits sooner. You all know the thing about savings. The sooner you start saving, the more that you're going to end up with at the end of your saving period. So we want to start getting the benefits. We want to get this process in place as soon as possible, because if we can catch just one more job in this process and improve that proposal before it goes out, of course, we're going to be better off than rather than letting 3 more months of proposals go out without proper review. We're going to get something in place right away. So I said this is recursive problem solving, and it is, right? You identify a weak discipline. You identify the greatest contingent need that supports that discipline. You launch a fast track team to fix that contingency. You review the solution, you launch the solution, you go back to the discipline and say, is that still weak? Great, let's find the next greatest contingent need, launch a fast track, and keep doing it again until our weakest discipline is no longer our weakest discipline. Now another discipline is going to be weakest. And then we will move our fast track into that area and iteratively improve upon it. So it's a constant improvement process. So again, feel free to start asking questions and honestly about anything in the Q&A. But I know the question that's going through your mind right now is, I don't have the management team to do this. My management, my operations manager is out doing shows. My salesman is on headset calling a show. The owners out, being a tech director on a show. The team that should be doing all of these things aren't even available to do all of these things, to do this process, to fix these things. So I will say this about your management capacity being your #1 constraint. And if you find that you can't start the process, that's where the finger is going to be pointing. Institutional, organizational shortfalls can rarely be solved without outside intervention. Yes, this is a pitch for hiring a consultant and having somebody else come in and help you with this. You're going to need intervention if your management team can't do a basic management function. And if they can't do a basic management function, if you don't hire me, hire someone else, but you got to get this problem fixed. And it's not just, it may not be hiring more management. It's probably getting management out of things that they shouldn't be doing, that they have not provided for, because you didn't allow the problem to be solved. So if you've got management working in the delivery of your products or services because we didn't anticipate that that was going to happen, that's a management problem. Managers who can't solve problems and have to jump in and do the work themselves often need some redirection and coaching and solve that problem. So here's some recommendations. Clearly, getting things done, the stress that you're feeling about your business, the feeling of too busy, why is everything harder? Okay, getting things done is a management core competency. And if management is not fulfilling that, we need to restate that to management. You and management, most of the people on this call are owners or management. You're the problem. You need to redirect yourselves. Smaller steps. The nice thing about the fast track method is we're going to take achievable bite-sized chunks and we're going to get them done very quickly to a standard of good enough. And then we're going to go to the next one. Okay. Weekly progress, it's not expensive and it's not time consuming. When you turn a project into a 3-month project, it becomes very expensive and very time consuming. And the results are, trust me, not going to be any better. It's just going to take longer and you lost 3 months of compound interest on your improvement. So recursive process to get long-lasting results means once I've made an improvement and I've put a good solution in place, is to move to the next improvement and keep that going. Never rest on your laurels. Okay, that's how you keep this going. You'll get longer lasting results as long as you're always fixing something. And if the thing that you fixed a month ago is no longer good enough and you have to go back and fix it again, you're going to do it quickly. Okay, it's no longer the weakest link, and then you can move on to the next thing. So that's my solution for getting your life back. Okay, getting all of this out of your head. Okay, you have some control over this. You may need some help getting the bandwidth to start solving your own problems. But again, give me a call and I will talk to you about how to do that. So questions, feel free to post questions here. We're pretty good on time. And I'm open to questions about anything. You know me, whatever problem you're facing right now, throw it in there. We could all enjoy some of this, some of these answers. So post some questions. Owners, your next step. Let's talk, right? Honest conversation. Okay, I want to know, you have goals that are probably not met. You have lifestyle you're probably not enjoying. Your business may not be doing for you what it should be doing. And trust me, you deserve it. Yes, your employees are great. We're going to take care of them. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're not happy and if you're not getting your needs, you're not going to be able to take care of your team, which I know is important to you. So let's look at where your business is now, figure out what your reasonable goals are for yourself, and let's draw that roadmap. How are we going to get you there? Is it your retirement? Is it selling your business? Is it retiring in place? Is it just having a better decade ahead because you got many more years of operating your business? Boy, let's start getting that payback as soon as possible. Okay. Hey, great book out there on marketing if you ever want to read it. Next webinar, next month, while you're putting some questions together, is organic relationship selling all you need? I just spent a couple of days with my mastermind group for consultants, and we spent a lot of time talking about relationship selling and business development and how do you find good customers and what retains them. And there is a tendency in a lot of our industry to talk about organic relationship selling as the solution to all of things. So I'm going to talk about what a well-defined sales process can also add to that, and see what a big impact it can be if we marry these two things together. So I think that'll be a great webinar to happen on June 15th. So questions, comments. My brain exploded. Yes, it probably did, Randy. Can't wait to talk to you about it. Somebody's asking about what are your favorite KPIs to measure? Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't have favorite KPIs. My approach, if you know, and many of my clients have learned this, is I'm not a big fan of dashboards. I think most KPIs need to be short term. I think the financial reports that you generate in the normal course of business have all the KPIs you need in there, and that you review all of them. So my answer to the question is that I would want to measure what is on your P&L. And if your P&L and your chart of accounts are set up correctly, if you are common sizing your profit and loss statements so that there's a percentage of revenue next to every item, every account line on there, so I can look and benchmark against your revenue. If I can see the previous period, the trailing 12 months, if I have all that information in front of me, which, oh, by the way, is 3 columns on one spreadsheet. Okay, this is not difficult at all to do. I can quickly scan down this current month and go, oh my goodness, subrentals as a percentage of revenue just went from a trailing 12 months average of 3% to 27% this month. Okay, that is a KPI, but I only care about it when it's an outlier. And right now it's an outlier. So my KPIs are outliers in a standard P&L statement that I look at every month, and I look at it the same way. I can pull stuff out and create dashboards. And I know many of you, and there are certain programs and books that many of you have read that encourage you to have dashboards, but I think dashboards are a poor replacement for having a properly set up P&L that you know how to read and the management team knows how to read. When I was on a management team and we looked at the P&L, there were certain things that I naturally gravitated to because these are processes I control. And I want everybody on your management team to quickly go to them. In sales, I might be looking at the mix of revenue where we focused on capturing studio rentals, and was the coding of the service correct in the invoices so it got put into the right place. Hey, our studio was busy every day last month. We're really great. How come there's no revenue for the studio on our P&L? All right. So as sales, I might be interested in looking at that, or as the person in charge of the studio who wants to justify my existence, I might jump into that, right? So I'm looking for the things that I know should be a certain way. And if they are not, the question is always why? Why are subrentals so up? Let's drill down into that. Okay. And maybe as a management team, I looked at the P&L before the management meeting, so I already come in prepared for some answers. So some things I do track though is, what is your overhead labor costs as a percentage of revenue? What is your overhead labor cost compared to your trailing 12 months as a percentage of revenue? I monitor head count, how many FTEs are we running as to revenue? So, am I doing, $300,000 revenue for full-time equivalent? Or am I doing 250 or am I doing 500? And in this particular month, it may change, but again, that's a trailing 12-month number that I'm really interested in. But all of this is in the P&L. Just present it in such a way that we can find that information quickly and easily. All right. Thank you for the great question. I hope you got something out of the long answer. Question about regarding use of the fast track method in recursive problem solving. Do you recommend we keep the same small, lightweight team to address the secondary or contributing issues that they discovered or engage with the other team? So the next fast track team should be relevant to that project. Often when we're working through one discipline, we're trying to fix the sales funnel. It could very well be the same team, but we may get to a point in time where part of our sales funnel problem is that we have some marketing issues or some data capture issues, which may change out some team members. So it's, I don't want to overload the same people because they have other jobs to do. I want the management team all engaged. And the reason I have there's typically a 5-person management team. In your company, it may be a 2-person management team and one of you is doing 4 jobs, but there's 5 disciplines on a management team. There's lots of people, and it may not be somebody from the management team that's involved in that project. In other words, we may be pulling somebody in, a subject matter expert in from somewhere else in the organization. So yeah, don't be afraid to mix it up. Don't be afraid to pull some people off and put some different people on depending on what the project is. Great question. So let's see. Yeah, some acknowledgement on the dashboards. What other questions do you guys have for me? So I'll talk a little bit more about dashboards in this. I'm going to reinterpret a question that was sent to me. There's and it's really the main book that some of my customers and prospects are dealing with is Traction, and the Traction program is fantastic. It's a great book, a lot of great benefits from it. I have nothing against it at all. However, when you adapt something that was written for all the companies in the world into our slightly unique niche, it deserves some specialization and modification. When it comes to dashboards, we are not a manufacturing company. Okay, you're not a retail company. You're a mixed services company, and dashboards are very difficult to generate in your world. And if you did generate them, they would be massive because there are so many moving parts that you would have to track to get the whole picture. So trying to take something that's is designed to simplify the process of running your business like a traction program and make it easier to follow. And then applying it to something that doesn't fit the model is very frustrating. And the KPIs are usually the one thing that my traction followers have struggled with applying. I want a dashboard. The book says I need a dashboard. I keep asking for a dashboard. My team can't deliver me a dashboard because there's not a rational dashboard to do. Again, my solution is understand your financials, and that will answer most of the things. All right, I'll take one more question if it will come through. Hang on. Done. Let me hide a few things here. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave it at this. I know you guys are busy. We'll let you get back to it. Aloha. Yes, I was feeling festive today. Personal note for if you read this morning's email, you know, my daughter got married last weekend. I'm just still riding, you know, at 100,000 feet in the clouds. It's a very exciting time. And I did just spend 2 days with my my consulting compatriots, getting energized about my business and my strategy, getting some validation, some feedback, some input, very much like what I do with my clients. So it's always nice to be on the receiving end and have people tell me the same thing that I tell my clients and go, oh, of course, yeah, I should be doing that. So I hope you have those persons in your life that help you improve your business. And if I could ever be that person for you, don't hesitate to ask. I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great rest of your month. If you're coming to InfoComm and you would like to meet up, please reach out to me because I'd love to make some time for you. It's going to be great to get back in person. I got a lot of necks to hug. I hope yours is one of them. And we will see you soon.